So the drivers make their way off of the pre-grid. So it's DD2, race 2 out of 3 here on Heats Day. Let's have a look at the starting grid. Once again, it's Poland's Sebastian Jankowski that starts at the front of the field alongside Matthias Lund in the 408. Ville Villelainen completes the top 3 ahead of Peder Bezel, the current points leader coming into this championship round. Jakob Bezel and Martin van Leuven round out the top 3 rows ahead of France's Paulo Besancon and Germany's Fabian Bock, with Besancon not starting in the pre-grid as we saw earlier on today. Leo Kirschenbauer and Zana Schriblach round out the top 10 ahead of Florian Breitenbach and Laurie Seifried, the only driver doing double duty this weekend, running both in DD2 and Project T20. Leonard and Maxim de Riche round out the top 14 positions ahead of row 8, which comprises of 2 Germans in the form of Mika Metz and Robert Schopian. Ragnar Virus and Hannes Border complete the top 18, with Max Fleischmann and Rasmus Vendelbo completing the top 20. Rounding out the 23 strong as they go onto their official formation lap is Mikkel Tigerson from Denmark, Johan Vane from Estonia and Germany's Mark Bartels. So 10 minutes plus an additional lap for this particular race. Saw that Matthias Lund took the victory ahead of Zana Schriblach, who stormed his way up from 10th on the grid to finish 2nd in what was a very saturated first race of the weekend. So 4 drivers got front fairing penalties, and also with that 3 drivers got pinged for pushing in the previous race. How is this one going to stack out? We're about to find out, because they are making their way towards the final corner of this 1,315 metre circuit. The action for the afternoon about to get underway as they head into the tram lines. The revs start to build and the lights are out. We are off and racing, and a good start by Sebastian Jankowski to stay ahead at the moment. There's been a bit of a turnaround, and that is one of the Bezels. Oh, was that Peder in the 402 that came a cropper there? We'll have to find out very shortly, as Matthias Lund is frantically trying to get his way past Sebastian Jankowski. I think that looks to be Jakob Bezel that has been the one that has ended up spinning around, and that is the case because I have spotted that. Well, let's just see what happens here as the lead has changed. 4th has also changed because Schriblach's already gone. Oh, there's been a tussle. There has been a tussle. And that looks to be that Ville Villelainen has come under fire, and that would have been from one of the Bezels. And that has changed things dynamically. Or was that from Zana Schriblach? That was very, very close indeed, because no one knows what happened there. But going up, it was Villelainen going for the lead, and it was actually Matthias Lund that tangled. And Matthias Lund, well, no, it's Villelainen, so Lund took the lead, and he is leading at the moment. 2nd, it's Zana Schriblach. 3rd, it is Jakob Bezel. So it was Peder Bezel that spun around earlier, and Peder Bezel is a bit further down the order. He has dropped all the way down to 20th position. It is a scramble for traction at this circuit. And there is Sebastian Jankowski going around the outside of Jakob Bezel going into turn 4. 5th place, Fabian Bock. 6th place, it is Martin van Leuven, who gets ahead of the German, and Paulo Besancon manages to get past the clumsy efforts of one Robert Schopian going through the turn 5-6 chicane. So on that particular aspect, it's going to be close, as Jakob Bezel closing in on Sebastian Jankowski, as Fabian Bock loses out to Paulo Besancon. The Frenchman inspired in these wet weather conditions, but Bock looking to fire back a salvo round across the front Nassau of that kart in his own right. And just behind them, we have got the 477 of the recovering Robert Schorpian, as there is a little bit of a drama behind. That looks to be Rasmus Vendelbo that's gone off the circuit on the penultimate right-hander, as now Martin van Leuven tries to go side by side with Jakob Bezel going into turn 2. Is the Dutchman going to fly it up the inside? He does. Bezel runs wide, and that opens the door for Paulo Besanconi to capitalise. Vive la France, as they say. So Besanconi inspired to get that move done and dusted rather quickly, as Fabian Bock finds himself behind. Well, he's just quickly lost out a couple of places. Oh, and there's been a bit of a touch between him and Robert Schorpian. The slightest amount of contact, and Robert Schorpian has had to wait, and Florian Bock spun it round again. Schorpian's had to go onto the grass and the muck to avoid. Oh my goodness, it does not get any more dramatic than this, and that is one of the Door Motorsport karts. That is Mark Bartel's, and it was just all a bit clumsy. I think, no, Schorpian just looked like he hit a little bit of curb, and it just spun him round, and then Fabian Bock just also lost the back end, and that was the... I'm just having a look at who that was coming through behind them, because Villelainen had dropped down the order. So Schorpian came through, Bock spun it, and then it was one of the Door Motorsport karts. It was Leon Arndt. Leon Arndt that was out of the kart. Bartels is out of the race already. So that has been a bit of a disaster for him. And also, it's gone from bad to worse for Leon Arndt as well. So not good for those drivers just there. However, Sander Schriblak has got the lead away from Matthias Lund from Denmark. So Schriblak was second in the first heat. He's now going to be in the lead of the race, and he's going to try and pull a gap with just over 5 minutes and 50 left on the clock remaining. And this is where it all gets rather interesting in terms of how these drivers are going to cope with these conditions, because they have gotten worse over the course of the lunch break. The spray is phenomenal, to be completely honest with you. So just under 3 seconds. Leon Arndt is going to be out of this race. So 2 retirements. Ragnar Veras rounds out the 21 that are still racing in this encounter. We are fast approaching the halfway point of this race. Now, effectively, what will happen is that he will have to do his level best to just keep pulling away. Sebastian Janchevski has been passed by Martin van Leuven from the Netherlands. Besanconi, P5 on merited pace, 7th in qualifying, had a bit of a good comeback in the first heat earlier on, and that put the French driver up into 10th. He did not receive any time penalties post-race, so Besanconi managed to get into P10 at the end of it all. So 4.5 minutes to go. And this is side by side for position, and that was more than likely one of the that would be Rasmus Vendelbo and Jakob Bezel going side by side, but Vendelbo keeping ahead. The Danish driver, Besanconi, has got himself past Janchevski and is gunning for the top 3, as we have just a shade under 4 minutes to go on the clock, plus an additional lap. Schriblak leads and has been putting in quick laps all the way through proceedings. He's the only driver so far that has gotten into the 1 minute 3.6s throughout the duration of this race. And as soon as you get in the front of the field, you will have an opportunity to move forward. And the thing is, Schriblak is doing exactly that. His gap now kept him at the front, but this battle here, this has got another driver finding themselves in the mix, and it's one of the Door Motorsport contingent. Mika Metz is absolutely flying at the moment, and he has gotten past Jakob Bezel along with Lawrence Seyfried. So Seyfried finds himself in exactly where he was, which was 9th position. He was 8th when he got past Jakob Bezel, but then all of a sudden Mika Metz decided, hang on boys, hold my Stein, let's go for it. And he gets the job done. Now is pulled away into the distance as Jakob Bezel tries to go up the inside of Lawrence Seyfried. No, you do not, it looks like. Ville Villainen has recovered up to 11th place. Hannes Border battling away with Robert Schorpian. Max Fleischmann rounds out the top 15 ahead of Johan Veen from Estonia. 3.8 seconds is the gap between the leaders now. Schriblak leading, going on to lap number 8 of this race with just under 2 minutes 20 to go, plus the lap. And the spray is biblical once again. Look at the rooster tails. It is so difficult. The rain has come back with a vengeance. And at the moment, the way things are going, drivers are going to start making mistakes. Their visibility will be compromised, but one driver's visibility who isn't compromised is that man there, Zana Schriblak. 1 minute and 47 seconds on the clock, plus an additional lap. And look, his front bumper is acting a bit like a water disperser right there. But look at the rear tyres, absolutely flying. It's definitely the case that these drivers are pushing like crazy. Schriblak is looking to extend that lead. The times will drop. He did a 1 minute 4.60 last time, now a 1 minute 4.5, so half a second off. And there is a penalty coming for one driver. I think that might be the 464. Couldn't quite make it out on my screen here. But Schriblak just doing exactly what he needs to do. So I'm just checking a look back. So it's either going to be, well, it's going to be one number, which starts and ends in a 4. And that looks to be more the case that it might be Mika Metz that might have that penalty. I'll wait for that to be confirmed on the official live timing. But Schriblak has been unassailable. There is Matthias Lund, who is 3.4 seconds adrift of the Belgian. As Schriblak has now come across the line. And he goes on to the 10th and penultimate lap of this race. Lap 11 will be our final lap of this encounter amidst torrential, wet weather conditions. There is Martin van Leuven, who is being closed in on by Paolo Besancini, who started in 7th position. And this now provides a bit of a spectacle for those drivers wanting to close up. Sebastian Janchevsky has gone grass tracking and he's picked up a hell of a lot of mud, lost himself a severe amount of time. And doing something like that, especially with how wet the grass is, the amount of mud underneath, your front bumper could be rather compromised, good sir. So timer has hit 0. And next time around, Zana Schriblak will be going on to the final lap of this race. So 1 win apiece it will be for Matthias Lund and Belgium's Zander Schriblak. Schriblak, the current reigning and defending champion, looking to strike back at those in front. And he wants to get on level pegging with those drivers that are ahead of him in the standings. And Schriblak started 10th again. And having raced at karting multiple times over his racing career, and also having been a 2-time B&L Karting Series champion and a Rotax Max Euro Trophy champion, actually our defending champion in this class this season, he knows a lot about wet weather. He's been through the highs and through the lows, but with a 4.5 second advantage. Just look at the amount of standing water that's on the inside of that chicane. And Schriblak just absolutely smashed into it with reckless abandon and full vigour. But he's going to come across the line. SP Motorsport now takes a victory in the heat stages here today at Muelsen, as Zander Schriblak from 10th takes the victory. Matthias Lund, not placing outside the top 2 so far this weekend, takes second. A great run by the Netherlands' Martin van Leuven. Paulo Besancon from 7th to 4th. Sebastian Janchevsky this time had a better race, finishing ahead of Florian Breitenbach as it's a run to the line between Rasmus Wendelbo and Mika Metz. And you know what? Zana Schiblak, the very, very luckiest man in the world, his actual race-winning margin, thanks to a 5-second time penalty for pushing, drops him to 3 tenths of a second ahead of Matthias Lund. Martin van Leuven rounds out the top 3. Besancon, Janchevsky, Weidenbach, Wendelbo, Mika Metz, Lawrence Eifried and Ville Villainen round out the top 10. Villainen making a steady recovery coming back from that. Also dramas for Robert Schorpian, who managed to cross the line in 11th place ahead of Hannes Border. Jakob Bezel in 13th. Max Fleischmann, Johan Veen, Fabian Bock. Peter Bezel's race went from bad to worse very, very quickly indeed as he finishes 17th ahead of Maxim Terrich, Leo Kirschenbauer, Ragnar Virus, Mikkel Tigerson with Leon Arndt in 22nd, retiring on lap 3. Mark Bartel's not even making it to the start of the race itself.